Sing a little louder. After a speech, pro-life activist Penny Lee was approached by an old man weeping. He told her the following story. I lived in Germany during the Nazi Holocaust. I considered myself a Christian. I attended church since I was a small boy. We had heard the stories of what was happening to the Jews, but like most people today in this country, we tried to distance ourselves from the reality of what was really taking place. What could anyone do to stop it? A railroad track ran behind our small church, and each Sunday morning we would hear the whistle from a distance and then the crackling of the wheels moving over the track. We became disturbed one Sunday. We noticed cries coming from the train as it passed by. We grimly realized that the train was carrying Jews. They were like cattle in those cars. Week after week, that train whistle would blow. We would dread to hear the sound of those old wheels because we knew that the Jews would begin to cry out as soon as they passed our church. It was so bitterly disturbing we could do nothing to help those poor, miserable people. Yet their screams tormented us. We knew exactly at what time that whistle would blow, and we decided the only way to keep from being so disturbed by the cries was to start singing our hymns. By the time the train came rumbling past the church yard, we were singing at the top of our voices. If some of the screams reached our ears, we'd just sing a little louder until we could hear them no more. Years have passed, and no one talks about it much anymore. But I still hear that train whistle in my sleep. I can still hear them crying out for help. God, forgive all of us who call themselves Christians, yet did nothing to intervene. Now, so many years later, I see it happening all over again in America. God, forgive you as Americans, for you have blocked out the screams of millions of your own children. The Holocaust is here. The response is the same as it was in my country. Silence. Have you ever wondered how people could have stood by and let the Holocaust just happen? Do you wonder why the Christians in this story chose to just sing their praise to God a little louder to drown out the victims' cries? The old man's story in the past that cannot be changed. It is easy to think we would act differently now, but the old man's last words are haunting. It's happening all over again in America with abortion. The Holocaust is here. As American Christians, we have become so comfortable in our lovely buildings and padded pews. We have beautiful fellowship halls for our many banquets. We have the latest sound equipment for our praise and worship. We have computers to keep our records. We gather together each week and shut ourselves inside our buildings. We raise our voices as loud as we can, all in the name of God. Yet in the heavenly realm, our voices raised in praise are drowned out by the screams of agony for millions of babies who are being executed before they are born. We can't see them. We can't hear them. But it's happening right now. Babies are being aborted up until the day of birth in this country. Their organs and brains are being harvested for use in medical experimentation. In Wichita, Kansas, the smokestack from the furnace of Dr. Tiller's abortion clinic belches out black smoke and the sickening smell of burning flesh. These are the bodies of 7th, 8th, 9th month-old babies being disposed of. If the Christians in the old man's church had done something, they would have probably been killed. That is not the case with us. We don't even have that as an excuse for our silence. Years from now, will you be like that old man trying to explain your apathy as millions were led away to the slaughter in abortion clinics? Or will you raise your voice and cry out and protest for those who have no voice? The choice is yours. Read the list of things you can do on the last page and join the fight for the unborn. Facts about abortion. Fact, in the United States, it's legal to abort a baby up to the day of birth. Fact, in the D and X procedure, babies are partially aborted, so the head is still in the cervix, but the body is out. While in this position, the live baby is still considered an abortion. Therefore, a non-person. The live baby's brains are sucked out, and the other organs are harvested to sold to researchers. The baby receives no anesthesia and is alive until the procedure kills him. Fact, every day in America, about 4,400 babies die painful deaths by dismemberment, chemical poisoning, lethal injections into the heart, being torn limb from limb, and now being partially delivered and having their brains sucked out and their organs sold. In fact, abortion has two victims, the baby and the mother. Many women who have abortions suffer both physically and mentally. Depression, anxiety, grief, infection, sterility, and even death are not uncommon as a result of the abortion. In fact, only 1% of the abortions are performed as a result of rape or incest. Most abortions are done as a form of birth control because the baby is inconvenient, too expensive, or a burden. Can you hear their cries? Can you look at the reality of the abortion holocaust and go on with your business while you sing a little louder? The passenger, I found myself in danger. I cried out in despair. I prayed, Lord, let them hear me. Just one person could care. I raised my voice to heaven as the train kept moving on. As we passed behind the churchyard, I could hear the worship songs. I cried out all the louder to the Christians there inside, but they raised the chorus louder, not hearing me outside. I knew they heard the whistle and the clacking of the tracks. They knew that I was going to die, and still they turned their backs. I said, Father in heaven, how can your people be so hard of hearing to the cry of one like me? I shouted, please, have mercy, just a prayer before I die. But they sang a little louder. To the Holy One on high, they raised their hands to heaven, but blood was dripping down. The blood of all the innocent voices tried to drown. They have devotions daily. They function in my name, and they never even realize it was I upon that train. For as much as you've done it to the least of these, brethren, you've done it to me, Jesus Christ.